at 6:30 on my watch. We'll call the Village of Cottage Grove Plan Commission to order on Wednesday, December 8th. It is 6:30. We are holding this meeting on Zoom, Zoom link is at the top of the agenda, or if one prefers, there's a audio dial-in number and associated meeting ID at the top of the agenda as well. We will confirm that we have a quorum. So Lisa, please.
Brinkmeyer, Broom.
I'm here, John, you're a little crackly. I don't know if I'm the only one, but
You're not.
I want to check on that.
Yep.
Justison,
Here.
Ratcliffe,
Here.
Theo,
Here.
Schultz, and Williams.
Present. Is that any better? Okay. Otherwise, we can switch to a different system. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please fly the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 4 is public appearances, public's opportunity to speak on any subject that is not a specific agenda item. So we ask, if you are from the public, please share your name, your address, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes. In case we have a number of folks who would like to speak. With that, I will hit the mute button, and please find yours if you'd like to speak. All right, moving on then, item 5, discuss and consider meeting minutes from the Plan Commission meeting from November 10th. The meeting minutes were in our packet. Any questions, comments, or edits? Or, again, this is a consideration for a motion as well.
John, I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
All right, thanks, Alex. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Kyle. I think I heard Kyle. And somebody else in the mix. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next up is to discuss and consider application for a site amendment for Hydrate Chemical to construct a treatment system building located at 114 North Main Street. We have a representative from Hydrate.
Hi, this is Jamie Dixon. I'm representing the engineering firm for Hydrate, Tetra Tech.
All right, Jamie, take it away and tell us what you guys are planning on.
All right. Well, the focus we were trying to rush through this was actually just the building foundation. We were trying to get it in this winter, if possible, before spring. But the building system is basically to catch a shallow plume that's under the park next door, and it's going to be treated and then discharged to Arrowwood Ponds via the storm sewer. And it involves trenching and some well vaults across existing wells that are installed. And it'll be treated with an advanced oxidation system, which will take care of an emerging contaminant that's been discovered at the site, in addition to the other contaminants of VOCs that have been discovered in the location. The system is about a 40 by 60 foot building with a concrete pad that's going to be kind of tucked behind an existing, there's like a mound or a hill there in that corner of the plant, and it's going to be paved to the existing plant paved back area to allow forklift traffic to deliver hydrogen peroxide, which is used for advanced oxidation in addition to ozone. System plan installation is probably going to happen in spring, but we want to try to get the pad in earlier, but I'm not sure with the weather. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. As there any questions on what was presented?
Jamie, we'll kick over to, I think, staff members and then circle back because they may end up answering some questions that you won't even have to address from what they provided in the packet. So let's kick over to them and then we'll come back to you if there are questions regarding that. So
Sounds true.
Aaron, yeah, so appreciate it. Aaron and then Josh.
Thanks, John. So just to kind of clarify what we're asking you guys to look at and approve, the decision to hook up to the sanitary sewer system for our ordinance is actually one that JJ makes as Public Works Director. There's a DNR permitting process also that I believe you already have that permit. Is that correct, Jamie?
We met with JJ about it a long time ago and discussed it with that and the other engineer, and I think that was fine. But there might be the WDNR permit as far as the WIPD's permit is been approved. Yes, we have that already. That's correct.
So we kind of wanted to make sure you had information about what the system was and what they're doing, but that's not really the aspect we're asking you to approve. We're really just asking for the zoning approval for the building and the land disturbance in the park.
Yes, okay, we understand that.
Yeah. So as far as that goes, we'd recommend approval with conditions. First condition, basically just what I was just explaining, that the connection to the storm sewer is kind of a separate process that goes through Public Works. This doesn't necessarily guarantee that approval. We're just approving kind of the zoning aspect of it. Number two, obviously some of this trenching and pipe work is going into RG Houston Park. The Park and Rec Committee did look at this back when it was first proposed last year. They were fine and recommended approval of the disturbance in the park, but one of their conditions was that a notice be provided to the neighbors, so we would just remind the applicant that that would need to be done. Prior to issuing a land disturbance permit, we'll want erosion control and site restoration details for Josh's group to sign off on. Fourth one, any land disturbance in the park needs to be completely restored to the satisfaction of the village. And then at least 2 weeks prior to starting any work in the park, we just like the applicant to coordinate with the parks director to make sure they're not digging in the middle of a big soccer tournament or something like that, just to have that coordination. And Josh, I think you guys had some conditions as well.
I think you're muted, Josh.
Thank you. Aaron, we had some of the same comments you had as far as some of the site stuff with just erosion control and restoration. A couple things to point out, the stormwater stuff, and this is going to be discharged back into the storm sewer after it's treated. We didn't look at a lot of that, like you said, Jamie. MSA, you had dealt with MSA in the past to review some of that. We noticed, and we were happy to see that where you connect into the existing manhole, the storm sewer manhole, there is a high level water alarm on that. That what I understand, Jamie, and maybe we'll ask for a little bit more detail on that in the future, is that when that stages up to a certain level in the storm sewer, let's say you have a large event in the village, it basically turns your system off, right? So you're not pumping clear water out to the system at that point.
That's correct. So prevent a surcharge of that manhole, we just shut off our system temporarily until that was cleared. So it's basically a float switch that's installed out there somewhere below the top of the manhole, so we can't surcharge it. So if a big event happens, it would just stop all the flow at that time.
Right. I mean, and I'm sure you guys have been doing a good job keeping JJ, posted on all the treatment that you're doing out on the site at various places. I guess we would just ask that, once in a while that level check, that you run some sort of a test on that piece of it as you're reporting your other stuff to the village.
Yes.
The one thing that I like to tell applicants when I see something like this, and I don't think it's anything that anybody probably is not aware of, but I like to bring it up, is, you're putting these through, obviously, the public park. There's probably no easements that I've seen as part of this, so if there's something in the park that occurs in the future, as far as some improvements or something, there's always the risk, right, Jamie, of, having to move a little bit of conduit or relocate it from one place to the other in order for your system to continue. And that, I'm sure you're aware of that. That's just something good to point out, that everybody understands that, you're kind of putting it in there, knowing that at some point, someday, you may have to move or shift something.
Sure. Understood.
Yep. Other than that, no, I mean, in order to issue the land disturbance permit, we'll just need a little bit more on erosion control and restoration, which should be pretty easy on your end.
Yes, and I think that work would be later this spring. So I mean, the
Yeah.
part we're looking at short term would be just the building foundation, as I said, if it could happen before winter, and that's outside. And that is on the property, and it's also contained, so they're basically runoff system goes to that line ditch now, which has controls in the said pond before it discharges on the back end. So I don't think where it is, it would be an issue as given, but I understand in the park and everywhere else, yes, we need to do that.
Yeah, and Aaron, maybe you can weigh in on this, because I'm not sure, or maybe Lisa, can we issue that building permit? I think we always issue the building permit and land disturbance permit all together, right, as kind of one thing. I mean, if you're going to start, you're going to dig for your building, you're going to disturb the land. So I think it's all part of that same application.
I mean, it could be two separate land disturbance permits, one, for the work associated with the pad, and then a second one later for the rest.
Yeah, that's a great point.
We'll do one or the other, and we'll see if it's easy enough. We'll just do the whole thing now, and then just get the permit, and we'll worry about the construction till later. So we'll see what we can do quickly and get that turned around.
Yeah, I like Aaron's option of, if it's easy enough to just pull two, right? Yeah, that makes sense. That's all I had, Aaron and John.
All right, Jamie, just wondering, I switched over to audio, that's why I see the number. This facility, is it being built to handle more than 2 wells, or, in the future, unfortunately, if you have to grab another one or whatever, is it being built for enough equipment or whatever, or is it just being built for the size it needs to be for these 2 wells?
It's flexible, and I think if we added additional wells, we probably would reduce the flow at these wells. So the total flow is like 100 gallons a minute, I think, and we're actually sized and planning on 95 or less, depending on how it turns out. So we have the flexibility to run more to the facility if we had to, and add that to it. So that's not an issue. And I think we have an oversized batch reactor system, so we have additional time to do additional reaction if case concentrations are higher or flows go higher. Either way, we can make that happen with what we've designed.
And is your gravity sewer output then also have a little extra capacity into it?
It's sized at 100 to 110 gallons a minute, so yes. In worst case, we could also batch feed, so we could turn it on and we could back down the wells for a short period of time. That was an issue to balance it, because the wells will be actually driven on VFDs. So we can fine tune the controls and make a few tweaks where it's still getting capture, but it's not capturing at the max all the time if we had to. So it's lots of flexibility in what we laid out.
All right, thank you for that. Other questions from board members, or commission members, I'm sorry.
I had a question for Aaron, just on the mechanics of what we're approving. We're approving the pad, like this pre-work, the construction, the ground disturbance, and the pipe. What did you say there when you were talking? Sorry.
Yeah, so we're approving kind of the zoning related aspects of it, where the building is on the site, restoring their land disturbance in the park, that sort of thing. We're not approving them connecting to the storm sewer. That's something that, for ordinance, JJ would be doing through the Public Works Department.
Okay, so once we do, if we go to approval, we are approving the construction, not just of the pad, which they're trying to do before it gets too cold, but it's the whole thing is being approved here. That connection is a separate. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Other questions from commission members? All right, if there are no questions, this is a discuss and consider for the application.
John, I'll I'll make a motion to approve the application for site plan amendment from Hydrite Chemical Company to construct a treatment system building located at 114 North Main Street. With the conditions of staff. Sorry.
All right, thanks, Alec. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Melissa. Any further discussion? Having heard none then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, thanks, Jamie, for joining us and walking us through that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time.
Next up, item 7 is to discuss and consider a site plan amendment for JEKCRE for multi-tenant retail building on parcel 0711-041-2020-1 located on the northeast corner of Highway N and Limestone Pass. So do we have a representative from GEKCRE?
It would be Matt Krogman, he's here, I don't see him unmuted.
There we go. Sorry, guys, my Zoom went away and I couldn't unmute myself. I've got two
Double
screens
whammy.
going here. So the site
All right,
plan
Matt.
amendment, I'm sorry, did you want to go ahead?
Nope, Matt, please, I was just gonna say, please go forward, Matt.
Sure. So the site plan amendment request is regarding specifically the curb cut entrances and turning radiuses of the semi-trucks that we need to get into the space from both sides. So, you know, part of understanding the traffic patterns and where we flow, that was one of the things that Quam Engineering had done the turning radius layouts at the request of Strand to make sure that we understood where everything sat, and we've got an indication of needing a 36-foot wide entrance at the northeast and a 30-foot entrance at the south entrance. And that's to accommodate the, again, full-size semis to be doing deliveries to the Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins that we have indicated, and any other of the potential tenants that need space. Just understanding that, you know, we want to take that into account, both for safety and for, you know, the longevity of the use of that space, because if they're too narrow and semis have to drive over the edge, eventually they just run over curbs and essentially, you know, break them down over time. So that's the gist of the request.
All right, Aaron? Oops, Aaron, thoughts? Or,
Matt, I don't know if you wanted to touch on the elevation aspects that I think you wanted to wait on.
Yep. Yep, and I can jump in on that as well. We had some sort of last minute as of several weeks ago, and I had talked to Aaron. Dunkin' Donuts and Baskin Robbins corporate had wanted some exterior branding requests added to the facility. You know, we indicated that we would be accommodating to that, but it would have to go through village approval. The materials and the changes that they were looking to make were not necessarily substantial, but brand-specific materials and colors. They're pretty close to some of the existing stuff that we've got in terms of gray composite paneling, some wood tone composite paneling, and then just some of their specific branding colors. So that was all shared. Unfortunately, this afternoon, about 3 hours ago, I received some additional updates from their corporate architect that had indicated some additional changes, which was a little frustrating, knowing that we had Plan Commission tonight. I kind of indicated to them that, you know, we weren't going to be looking to make multiple requests to the Plan Commission or the Architectural Review Board. So let's take a little bit more time, make sure everything is finished, complete, and so we're only asking for one change to sign off on. So we're going to ignore those for now, and likely take those back up in January. But those should be, you know, they're not majorly substantial and certainly part of the last piece of the building to go up. So not exactly extremely urgent at this point. So appreciate your flexibility on that one.
Yeah, so based on that, tonight we'd just be approving the, allowing the wider driveways. We'd recommend approval of that. We didn't have any conditions. You know, there are some issues on the site that make the driveway locations a little bit more complicated. There's a existing hydrant on Landmark Drive. That's probably right where you would ideally want the driveway to be, so they have to kind of swing around that.
Yes, that was indicated. Yep.
Which makes the getting in and out of there a little more complicated, and then, you know, just kind of spacing the driveways away from the intersections kind of puts them in spaces that maybe aren't exactly ideal either. But, you know, as Matt said, if we keep them at the 24 feet, it's just gonna destroy the curb and tear up the grass and things like that. So I think it's a justified request, and I think we're better off just approving it.
Yeah, Matt was good at providing those actual, you can show those in engineering CAD programs. You can show those tracking and drive the actual vehicles. And we looked at it with them and tried to, you know, see if there was any other way we could get things in and out of there. Right now, your ordinance is 24 feet in that area. And, you know, if you look a little bit up on the Commerce Park, there is several other places that have a little bit wider. You know, by the Quick Trip, I think there's like a 30-foot opening there. Just because, again, there's some tight radiuses into that site. So there is a couple other places along there where you've gone anywhere from, you know, 24 up to 30. They have 30, and one's a little wider because of that weird angle, like you're saying, Aaron, at 36. But it's going to be needed if they want to get those larger trucks in there without tearing up, you know, their curb and grass behind their curb.
All right, any questions from commission members? Otherwise, again, this is a discuss and consider.
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan amendment from JEK CRE for a multi-tenant retail building on parcel number 0711 041 2020-1 located at the northeast corner of Highway N and Limestone Pass. With the staff conditions, I think there wasn't any, but there was some reviews through the engineering review. Thanks.
Yes, we just want to specify this due to those elevation changes that are upcoming. This is just for the.
Yep, this will be just for the, how do you want to word that, Aaron, this is for the parking, the ramps in and out of the property?
Yeah.
Okay.
Driveway entrances or driveway access. Yeah.
Is that clear to everyone? Does that motion make sense? Approval for the driveway entrances and access to the property?
Yeah, it'd be clear to Lisa, actually.
I'll second.
All right, thanks, Melissa. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Thanks, Matt. Moving on then to item 8. This is to discuss and consider ordinance 13-2021 regarding the petition from 2001 Realty to annex 79.1 acres from the town of Cottage Grove. There is some items in the packet around the location of this 79 plus acres. Is the applicant on?
I can jump in here. We put this on kind of optimistically hoping we'd be far enough along on the pre-annexation agreement that we could talk about it at this meeting. I don't think we're there yet, so we don't really want to approve it conditioned on that annexation report that we don't have ready and that the applicants haven't really weighed in on. So I think we'll just postpone this until the January meeting.
Okay. I'll make a motion then to table this particular item. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alex. Any further discussion? Having heard none, all those in favor then?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. We'll pick it up in January. Next up, I would like to open a public hearing. Public's opportunity to provide input on a proposed ordinance, 14-2021 regarding the amendment of chapter 325. This is the village zoning ordinance related to utility land uses. There is some items in the packet. Aaron, you've done a lot of legwork on this. Rick, do you want to touch on this before we open it to the public?
I think it basically follows what we talked about at the last meeting, is kind of how we wanted to conceptualize this. Basically, we're creating a new land use specific to electric substations. It'll no longer be lumped in with wells and lift stations and things like that. We're allowing it just in a few specific districts: general industrial, heavy industrial, rural holding, and then applying some regulations specific to the use: no outdoor storage, landscaping buffer that's required, asking that new distribution and transmission lines are placed underground where feasible. In some cases that won't be feasible because of state statute, but we're at least kind of covering ourselves with that. Then I added, when it's located adjacent to a residentially zoned property, fencing shall be an opaque material such as masonry. But also point out we don't have a lot of these districts. Hydrate is general industrial. So most likely for Alliant to site one of these, they're going to have to get it rezoned to one of these districts. So we have a little more discretion over the approval process because it's a rezone.
How does this impact current location?
Alex, you're asking. Go ahead, Rick.
Sorry. So maybe I gotta wait till public's time. Sorry, or whatever.
Not a problem. I can
That's fine.
answer that now, I guess. Basically, since we're changing in the ordinance after any existing substations, or technically if somebody had already applied for any sort of permit, the new changes wouldn't apply. So it's only prospective.
All right. With that, then, if public would like to comment on this, again, please share your name, your address, and hold your comments to no more than 3 minutes. Please find your mute button and let us know what you think.
Can I double dip the time, John, or should I wait till it closes and then comes to the commission?
Wait till it closes. Rick's on the line. He's going to keep us on him. All right. If no one from the public would like to speak on this particular item, I will officially close the public hearing portion of this, and we'll move on to item 10, which is to discuss and consider the proposed ordinance 14-2021 regarding the amendment to Chapter 325, the village zoning ordinance related to utility uses. Alex, go.
The outdoor storage, no outdoor storage is permitted, is the one that I'm focusing in on, right? So I asked about the prior existing locations. They, frankly, were far away from, I don't know where any of their warehouses are. So they may have spare transformers. I know the one on the south side, they have a truck that lives there, and the guy dispatches from that location. So we do want our utilities to be able to respond to emergencies quickly and have things that they need in these locations. What is the mechanics of saying no outdoor storage is permitted, except that they're doing some construction or repair? that'll help the, village of Cottage Grove, be more, they can be more responsive if there's outages or issues. So I understand the intent, right? We don't want it junked up with stuff. But you can go probably, on the south side, you see from the street, they leave their truck there.
Yeah, I guess, to me, a truck is not material storage, it's a vehicle, it's a little bit different. I'm not gonna be standing outside their fence every day, seeing what they have sitting on the site. It's probably gonna be more complaint-based if they are, closer to our neighborhood and they are kind of abusing the.
So wouldn't our nuisance ordinance sort of cover that? If it's any neighbor leaving materials in their yard for an extended period of time, they would just go back to our standard ordinances and use that one?
Not necessarily, because it wouldn't necessarily be, it's not trash, it's, equipment or parts. Industrial districts are a little different than, if you have a bunch of stuff in your front yard of your house.
Yeah, if the items are specifically related to the permitted use, it gets a little harder to enforce that. Here, if we just have a restriction for all electrical substations where they're not allowed to do any exterior storage, it makes that a clear-cut line. Plus, if there's, it's a permitted use, but we can, I'm assuming they would need some sort of zoning permit or site plan. We can always make that a condition as well on the aesthetic end of it, just saying that they're not allowed to have any, we can be more specific in the materials that they're not allowed to have in there.
Well, I would think they should be. I'm going the other direction. I think they need to be permitted to store stuff, right?
Okay.
I'm saying they need to be permitted to store extra wires, extra transformers. The truck lives there, because they're responding so remotely. They wouldn't house the truck there if they had their own workstation, close by, their own work shed, right? So I think we need to make sure we allow accommodations, or they're aware that there are accommodations they can leave materials within their fence line. For sure, right? We don't want X stuff just hanging out all over the property, but they should be able to store some stuff in there. Is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And we could maybe make an adjustment to it where we add language. I don't like just coming up with it off the top of my head, but something along the lines of no exterior storage or outdoor storage unless specifically authorized by the village. And that way we can sort of have a discussion when they come in for their site plan.
But then the mechanics of that 5 years down the road, those people are gone and there's new people installed and they're like, hey, we need to store 10 transformers, we're going to put them there. There's a new development going in and it's a fenced in secure area, so they're going to put in, so maybe that would count as facility construction, or something. I don't know. It's gonna be difficult either way to sort of create that gray area. I'd encourage you to go look at see the substations that are around and see what they have in them, if they have anything in them. Maybe I'm off base here, but I would imagine they're trying to store stuff in strategic locations for their own redundancy.
I would agree with what Rick has proposed. If we add language and if they want to request storing additional items there for whatever reason. Otherwise, it's a substation. It's a working substation. It doesn't need a bunch of stuff there. The ones that I've driven by over the years, I don't see equipment other than maybe a truck or two like we have on our South Main Street one. I don't see a bunch of stuff around. They don't usually have the inventory to do that as well. So I'd rather have us have the enforceability so it doesn't happen, doesn't create clutter. And if they have a solid reason, then whatever board's in place or commission would more than likely take that into consideration and likely approve it.
So the mechanics, they would petition for update, like, hey, we want to store stuff, we need to put this extra transformers here. They would petition every time they need to move stuff around, or what's the mechanics of that?
Yeah, if they want, I would defer to Rick on that, but I would assume that they would you know, if they want to store something there for 6 months because they're going to use it an upgrade or something like that, and they've gotten it early, whatever, then that's fine.
The way I sort of envision it is when they develop this facility on the front end, they need a site plan. And if they want to have storage there, that would need to be approved as part of the site plan. If they want to increase storage, or if they want to go from having no storage on site to having things stored on site, that would require a site plan amendment.
That's good mechanics. That makes sense. Okay.
That way we can control if there's a specific corner of the fenced-in area that might be more appropriate for that kind of thing, because it's landscaped or there's a grade change, we can kind of do it.
Are you comfortable, Larry, then with the words that are? I'm sorry, Rick, with the words that are there, or do we need to adjust something for those mechanics?
Yeah, I think we can make an adjustment to give more discretion there at least.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments from commission members?
Do you want to see this again, or are you comfortable just having Rick make the change, you know, in time for the board meeting?
I'm not going to speak for the commission members, but I'm comfortable with Rick making the change and then getting it over to the board. He's got clear direction from commission. But again, if others feel differently.
I brought it up, and I'm comfortable with staff and what they can do here.
All right, any other comments, questions from commission members? Otherwise, this is discuss and consider.
Rick, what's the words you used around that? So we.
I'll have to.
No, not your specifics.
Yeah.
You said that the mechanics of so it would be a permit. It'd be create flexibility for outdoor storage.
Right, like unless otherwise approved by the village. So we can give that,
Right.
that would, in my mind, that would be part of the site plan process. So we can even add a reference to the site plan procedure.
No, I'm just thinking about having how to word the motion.
Oh, I think you can just say,
I'm just gonna take a swing.
So
at it.
just say staff edits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll swing it. I'll make a motion to approve proposed ordinance 14-2021 regarding an amendment to chapter 325, the village ordinance related to land utility uses, with staff creating edits around outdoor storage, and that it goes directly to village board and does not need plan commission re-review.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Alex. Any further discussion? Having heard none then, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. All right, moving then on to item 11, and this is to discuss and consider recommendation to the village board regarding a leaf vac truck to be ordered in 2022 for 2023 with ARPA funds. There is a memo in the packet. Melissa put that together. I don't know, Melissa, if you want to introduce this.
Sure, thanks. So as the memo notes, basically, I wanted to bring this forward it's also gone to Utility and Public Works committees or commissions to review, to provide input. There's a couple of issues. One is that the lead time on any equipment is so long. So if we were to order the truck in January of 2022, we would be lucky to get the vehicle by mid-2023. The nice thing is that a leaf vac truck qualifies for for purchase with ARPA funds. And this is something that has been discussed a lot over the past years, even before I was on the board. So 4 years or 5, at least. And our trees are getting bigger and we're getting more leaves, and it's a nice service to provide to residents. So with that, I wanted to bring it forward to hear more from our committee members as to their thoughts about using ARPA funds for a leaf vac truck. The vehicle that JJ is considering could be utilized for more than just leaves. There would be, he can say it better than I can, but basically it, the leaf part can be taken off, and then the truck part can be used with other equipment throughout the rest of the year. The one other thing that JJ will always point out is that with this truck, we would also need at least one more person at Public Works to be hired to help with pickup of leaves. And that person would be utilized during other times of the year for all of the stuff that they have going on too. JJ does have it planned as needing another staff person for Public Works in 2023, also for the 2023 budget. So if there are questions on that, JJ can answer a lot more about the technical stuff, but I can do my best too.
All right, thanks, Melissa. JJ, you want to weigh in on this? Melissa already kind of introduced you, so we'll let you.
No, that's perfect. Hopefully you can hear me. It's a good time to just do a test of the hybrid system here. So it looks like I saw Melissa nodding, so I'm coming through. No, honestly, I think she covered it all really well. It's just we'd be looking at the J-hook system with the leaf vac on there, but then you can drop that unit off once you're done with leaf collection, and there's all kinds of different things you can put on that truck chassis, and so then it's not just sitting. That'd be, if directed, that would probably be the option that we would opt for. They're not overly common in this area just because a lot of municipalities have programs already, and these trucks weren't an option until recently. So there's a few that have gotten them in recent years. But nope, other than that, I think she covered everything.
Okay, questions, comments from commission members?
How much money are we getting from the, or was it ARPA? How much of the truck are they covering? The whole thing? I guess
It could cover the whole truck, absolutely, yep. We'll get set, good Lord, I saw that number every day for a while now. I want to say 700,000. I can get the exact, but it would cover the whole truck if that was the direction given. Yeah, we did have other projects identified that had gone through Utility Commission and Public Works.
so there's nothing better to use the money for right now.
No, that's
Your business is like, no, just.
no. Well, I'm referring back to Public Works and Utilities.
Yeah.
Public Works and Utilities recommended doing Thaden Pond and considering the sewer interceptor that we need. I think above this in priority, I believe. But I wasn't at the Utility Commission, but no, Public Works talked about it earlier. That's kind of how they kind of laid this out. So Thaden Pond needs to be dredged. It's obviously water quality, water capacity. If we do get one of those horrendous storms that places are getting now, unfortunately, due to the climate changing, so that was up there. So that's viable for ARPA funds. The sewer connector, which is also needed otherwise to complete the system, and that goes through the farm, is also needed. And that could also be considered. And then there's interest or looking into potentially radios for the emergency services, but we, at least initially, were told they weren't allowable for ARPA funds, but there's still some research being done there. So there are other things being considered as well, to answer your question, Alex.
And so the board is, I believe that the village board will look at all the different ways that the funds can be used in January. It's just a matter of seeing what committees recommend, and then deciding from there.
Why does this go through planning commission? The other committees, I'm sure, move this forward, so why does it go through planning commission?
I had asked for it to, because at the beginning of, well, it is the beginning of December, I guess at the end of November, this option became available. I think Public Works had, or utility, Public Works had previously looked at the Thaden Pond and the sewer interceptor as two items that JJ had identified for use of the ARPA funds. But this wasn't an option that was looked into, and JJ looked into it further for me and noted that this could be, the leaf vac truck could be an ARPA approved funding project equipment. So I had requested that it go to Public Works, Utility, and Plan Commission to be looked at. It also requested sustainability because it is, I mean, they should have a say in it too, but they haven't met yet. So it was at my request that John had it put on this agenda for us to discuss further. So thank you for that, John.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, this has been something that's been kicked down the road for many years. The costs continue to go up. Our costs for sewer lines continue to go up. We need to protect our investments, have a nice amenity for the community, and couple it with Public Works needing and planning for additional support and help anyway. So it seems like a big number on the surface, but it's really a small number when you're protecting sewer in future for our community. So I'm very strongly, for this. And yeah.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, thanks, John. The other thing I just wanted to check, with the sewer intercept and Thaden Pond, were those two items that we had planned in our budget in the next few years?
The Thaden is part of the financial management plan. The sewer interceptor is identified on the sanitary sewer side, not necessarily as anything else, because that cost is all sanitary sewer. And it always depends on the potential developer contribution if and when a developer comes. So that one's a little less clear. Thaden's been in the financial management plan, yep, to be done pre-COVID for years now, yep.
So perhaps maybe the leaf truck should be put into a plan and looked at as another option, potentially. Based on responses, at least from utilities as well as Public Works, ranking this a bit below the other two items that have already been considered as well for ARPA funds. This thing will have to be replaced every 7 to 10 years, I think, in the memo, and as well, and require on the levy another person. The other thing to consider is we currently don't have space for this piece of equipment in our building. As part of our facilities plan, we would need to deal with that as well. So that's the other consideration that people need to think about. Any other
I-
questions?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Melissa.
I was just gonna say on utility and public works committees, it was just discussed there, not voted on. And I see the language is a little different for our committee, so, our commission. So I'm not sure if we should vote on it or if it's just more of, I don't, I'm not sure. But I just wanted to point that out, I guess.
We wrote it that way to give the committee the option to do with it what you would like to do with it, I guess.
It is kind of, because ultimately what was decided at Public Works with those two projects coming forward to the board, I think, this should be part of the conversation for the board to have, as well, for use of ARPA funds. And if the board decides that the other two projects are better uses of ARPA funds, then, I mean, I think it should be part of the conversation that the village board has. Anyway.
I agree with that, and then it's another group kind of giving guidance when there's a number of people looking over this, which I think is good. And just to clarify, the additional individual isn't just for the truck, it's already kind of planned for it to be coming forward at that time. And a part of that person's job description would be this potential job. So, so I don't.
Kyle, just to clarify, this would be an addition. The 2023 edition was already planned for Public Works because they're going to need him or her. This would be an additional whenever the truck's available, as Melissa said, late 23, so it wouldn't probably be an add until 24. So this is an additional person just for that truck. Because they're 6, 7 months, 8 months a year on that truck. The additional person 23 is for just the growth that the village is experiencing. So just to clarify that.
No, I mean, we just talked about that, and this individual is planned for this time, and this would fall under their job description as a portion of it during that time. So they said possibly an additional person. Not for sure. It's one person anyway, and potentially a second person. Am I missing something?
No, I clarified with JJ, we were already planning on one additional person without this involved in 23. If we add the leaf truck, we're gonna look at another person. Or this, just the leaf truck, and then obviously whatever downtime, JJ will keep him busy or her busy with other stuff. So this is a person and a truck. Just to make sure everybody's clear on that.
And then what's the alternative? Did we look into subbing this out to another local community, or what are we doing in opposed to it if we don't go this direction when we're spending millions and millions of dollars on sewer lines and not protecting them? I just got a bid for 1,000 square feet of sewer, came in over $1 million. So I want to know how that multi-million-dollar investment is being protected currently when we're investing in this community. So what are we doing to protect that currently? Nothing? Or are we subbing it out to a local community, or what are we doing currently?
Currently, go ahead.
I'd just say currently we're encouraging residents to drop off their own leaves and pull them out of the gutter with our, basically manage the leaves on your own property and even out in the gutterway. And I would say, just to kind of put a finer point on that, Kyle, the sewers themselves aren't damaged by this. It's the phosphorus from the leaves. It's area waterways is the biggest concern with leaves. We clean out inlets and things like that to avoid, flooding or backing up or anything, but the leaves aren't harming the actual infrastructure. It's a broad concern with the phosphorus in the waterways. They lead to the algae blooms in the lakes that happen around here. But it's not so much that traditional infrastructure maintenance we're not doing. It's more of the broader phosphorus. So we've got efforts, and a lot of it is just providing a site for people to come to and encouraging and educating folks about what they can do with them. So, but yeah, it's not curbside collection, but not nothing either.
We're short-staffed regardless, right? And I mean, and it's not like this individual is being hired just for this. Is this one job task? Yes. Is this an additional job task? Yes. But how short are we, JJ, on our staff currently? I mean, it just continues to get kicked down. We've been short-staffed for you. We need some people fighting for additional support for you. How short-staffed are we?
I'll give the same answer you heard previously, Kyle, and John's heard. We're by comparable communities and services provided, it would look like we're very, very short-staffed. That said, we've got a great, efficient group. So, I'm not pressing alarm bells constantly, but by any measure you're going to use, we're short-staffed to where, yes, we need people, period. But we're also fortunate in that the infrastructure we do have in the world of infrastructure is very, very new. The village has grown, exponentially since the early 90s. So pipes that are 30 years old are not a huge issue yet, but incrementally each year they do require more maintenance and stuff. So it won't be long before we will be significantly falling behind. So we're short-staffed in public works, but I don't want to say we're not going to keep getting the job done. It's just but yeah, we could always use people.
It's just my experience, I've seen these things get cut over the years, like over and over and over again, and I feel like it really needs to be addressed. So that's just where I stand, so.
So it probably doesn't make sense to add another service that if you're already short-staffed then. To that argument. This is a discussion consider.
It forces the group to go. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve or to use ARPA funds to move forward and look into a leaf truck with the J hook setup that JJ and Melissa discussed.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second then is, any further discussion? All right, those approve?
Aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose? Aye. Motion carried. All right.
John, can I just,
Beyond that, you want to clarify?
yep, can I
You
just?
can do a roll call.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't capture everybody. Broom,
Aye.
Justison,
Approve.
Radcliffe,
Aye.
Sale,
Aye.
Schultz, Williams,
Nay.
and Brinkmeyer. Okay, thank you, John.
Yep. That's the way I heard it, actually. All right, moving on then to discuss and consider rescheduling our February 2022 Plan Commission meeting from February 9th to February 16th.
Yes, we're expecting a submittal later this month for a project that'll be approved or considered for approval as a planned unit development. So it'd be the general development plan in January and then presumably the precise implementation plan in February. Those have kind of a longer lead time in terms of when they have to submit. So looking ahead to February, it's one of those months where there's a little bit longer gap between the plan commission and that second board meeting. So we could move that meeting back a week to the 16th. It wouldn't hold up any kind of final approvals because that would go to the board on the 21st. But it would give the applicant an extra week to kind of prepare their PIP submittal, and it would give them a little bit of time in between the January meeting and that submittal date to make any changes or edits that might come about from the GDP approval. So we just wanted to see if that works for all of you.
Works for me.
No issues for me.
For me.
Do you need a motion on
Melissa?
that?
Yeah,
I think
we
I can
actually
make
do.
it work.
Okay.
Fred said it
Might
worked
have
for him.
conflict. Okay. Yeah, and we do have to make it formal, actually, Alex, to answer your question.
The January meeting's at the same time, same date, normal date, second Thursday, Wednesday of the month?
Correct, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve rescheduling the February 2022 Plan Commission meeting from February 9th, 2022 to February 16th, 2022.
Second.
All right, thanks, Kim. Any further discussion? Having heard none, then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Anybody abstain? Motion carries. Next up, future agenda items. I think Aaron already kind of alluded to some of those. So Aaron, you want to touch on anything?
So we have the one submittal we're expecting for a project up north of the freeway. We have the annexation that we tabled. We'll have those building elevations from the JEK building to look at. Those are the three that come to mind.
Aaron, did Alliant Energy give you any indication on when they might come back?
No, not yet.
Okay.
They're doing their due diligence on other sites.
Yep.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Aaron. Anything else from commission members? All right, then we'll move right to item 14.
I'll move to adjourn.
I think that was Kim, and I don't know who else. Maybe Kyle. I don't know. Everybody was in on that one.
I'll do second.
Okay. Just for the record there, thank you. That way at least we got it. All right. Non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Everybody have a great week. Thanks. We are adjourned.